Mm, okay. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, professors and friends, academic brothers and sisters. I'm really honored to be here to present the work about the mechanism of the shape of the Himalaya arc. So, as you know, I was the last PhD student working with Professor Paul Tapponnier. This is the photo taken just after my defense. After that, he told me, Li Qing, you are my last PhD student. I'm really honored to be the last PhD student of him, and he gave me a lot, actually. So why I presented this work today? Actually, as you know, I had worked with him more than 1 decade, but this is the last paper, the last work I worked together with Paul in his life, actually. Actually, this photo taken by Kevin. Thank you very much, Kevin. Yeah, actually, it's taken in the earlier spring of the 2023. And after this work, this photo taken just 1 month before he passed. Actually, just a few days before he went to the hospital. Actually, at this moment, he was coughing a lot, still working on this work. You can see in front of us is the paper just print out. We modify the last version together. He kept coughing at that moment. He said he kind of he thought he just got the asthma, so keep taking the medicines. Then he told me he feel tired. He don't know why, but at that moment I didn't notice that that's very serious. So I kept worked with him on the last piece of work of us. Actually, as you know, I had already worked with him for a long time. And I learned a lot of knowledges from him. And also, most of the important is the attitude to the scientific questions. And the most important was I learned from him. He told me, Li Qing, when you observe the phenomena on the surface, you need to think deeper and more. So from this talk, when we observe the phenomena from the map, the geologic map, we could see this is the Himalaya arc. Actually, it's about 2,500 kilometers long. And we can see it is almost the longest and the most remarkable arc shape in the world. And also, it's very highest mountain belt. And we can see it is also terminated by the east and the west syntaxis, Langan-Pabo and Lanchen-Pava. We can see that from this map. And we could see more. We can see actually this arc shape between Langan-Pabo and Lanchen-Pava is about 130 degrees. And also, we can see it is almost shown as the symmetric arc. And it shows the divergent thrusting along it. You can see that. And also along the south of the Tibetan Plate, south of the Himalaya, we can see is the east-west extension. All these phenomena, we can see it from this map. And then more recently, from the geodesic data, it also shows this divergent thrusting and the east-west extension along the Himalaya range. And we would like to analyze the mechanism of the phenomena of this arc-shaped mountain range. If we want to analyze this mechanism, then we need to analyze the subduction shortening rate, the convergence rate along it, and also the earthquake cycles from along this range near the eastern, typically near the eastern and the western syntaxis, and also the central Nepal, also the center of the Himalayan arc. Then we took these 3 points as the examples. So first when we see the west syntaxis, which is close to Langan-Pavot. Then, actually, near the Nankan Pebble, we observe the big earthquake, magnitude 7.6, just occurred in 2005, named Palaco earthquake. If we zoom in, we could see then after this earthquake from the GPS data, we can see it's a northeast southwest shortening. And if we zoom in this small square, we could see along this, you see this river, then we could see this aluminum fan. Then just a few months, the 3 months after this event, our team went back to see this outscope terrace in this aluminum fan just earlier, January 2006. Then we could get this terrace from there. Then we understand that we could observe totally six terrace levels from there. Actually, it's about the 40 meter uplifted in the past 20,000 years. Then if we analyze more, we could see this totally six this terrace level, and also we could see the average convergence rate is about 5 millimeter per year, and in the past 2,000 years recently. Then this is the western syntaxis part. If we see the east syntaxis part, we could see the earthquake and shortening rate along this Himalayan arc close to the Lanchon Pava. In this part, we see this point. After this earthquake in 1930, Assam earthquake, it's very big earthquake, magnitude 8.7. Then also we could observe that this river also particular to this earthquake, particular to this fault. Then we also see the aluminum fan here, and also this point, and also see aluminum fan here. Then we also observe the totally 7 terrace levels from here, and we analyze that totally about the 11 or 10 events in the past 20,000 years. And we analyze the uplift rate about the 2 millimeter per year, and from this triangle, then we can calculate the shortening rate is about also 5 millimeter per year. And the earthquake cycling here, return time is about the 2,000 years, just about the big earthquake. So this is the 2 syntaxis part. Then if we see the details, the more things in the central Nepal, actually we didn't go there, but our team did a lot of work from there. So from the paper published by Belham in 1997, that they showed this shortening rate in this area is about the 7 millimeter per year. And also the work by Levy and Avec 2000, it shows the shortening rate is about 20 millimeter per year. Then more recently, Eric Linderson, using the geodesy data to analyze this shortening rate is about the 15 millimeter a year. So average, this shortening rate is about the 17 millimeter per year, actually. So then if we see the earthquake cycling, the return time, big earthquake return time in this area, then we can analyze the large earthquake return time is about the 700 years in this area. So we could summarize all this observation. So along this Himalaya arc, we connect all the geological information, GPS data, and the fault distribution, and the historic earthquake cycling things. When we can get this Himalaya arc, is almost symmetric, and also it shows the overall this kind of ellipse shape, and also the major to the minor axis of this ellipse is close to 3. if you see more details, then we can see at the 2 points to the tip of this ellipse, the shortening rate is about the 5 millimeter per year. In the middle, the shortening rate is 3 times of that in the 2 tips actually. So then we also observed about the 500 kilometer long South Concave mountain range, just north of this both syntaxes. We can see that one is wet thrust, another one is northern thrust. We can see this information. And also, as I mentioned that to you before, and we can see this is east-west extension across the southern Tibet. So we know all this information. So if we observe the phenomena on the surface, we need to think about the mechanism, the theory behind it. So we found this theory could well fit this phenomena. Then with this theory, after that, we need to use our way, the mathematical way, to reproduce this phenomena. Then we could help us to understand more deeply, right? So the theory, what's the theory to fit this observation? It is the ellipse shape of this deformation. So if we put the Langan pebble and the Lanchon pebble at these 2 points to this focus, this is the Langan pebble and this is Lanchon pebble as these 2 points. Then if we deform this part, move these things to the source, then we deform the material to show this kind of perfect ellipse. Then with these things, we could see that all these phenomena. You can see the main phenomena, main features, the geological features, this area, we need to catch it and we need to consider it. No matter what kind of method you are using, you have to reproduce the main feature of this area. Then we could agree that your model or your theory can work, right? So that's the reason we connect all the main features here. So we can see this is the ellipse, it's a Himalayan arc. It's this shape and also these 2 concave thrusts, and also the big thrust fault, structurally fault here, and also this big thrust fault here. And the moving part is about the 5 kilometer is towards the north, like that. So sorry. Then we summarize that. We simplify that as the more like in a regular model here. Then we can see this is rigid India, and this is the deformed Himalayan ellipse, and also this Afghanistan, and this Myanmar, and this deforming Tibet. And we use this as the numerical model. Then we could set up. This is the rigid India, and this is Afghan and Myanmar here, and move together to the deformable Tibet. It's like this. And this is 3D. We can see from the observation, we can see it's about the 10 kilometer, this subduction plate is 10 kilometer lower than the Tibet. So this part is almost 10 kilometer lower than this deforming Tibet. This is initial model. So here, as you know, I use the discrete anime method. So what's the discrete anime method? I think most of us, if you know our work, maybe you know more details about that. I just would like to mention a little bit. So the discrete anime method, we assume the material as the lots of spheres, the assembly of the spheres linked together with the normal and the shear forces. And in between, then to calculate the normal and shear forces, and then calculate the resultant force, then make the entire model working together. So how to define the normal and the shear forces? Actually, it's related to the Young's modulus, and also the percentage ratio, and also the collision and the friction as well. So all these things to make the physical parameter into the numerical parameter, make the physical property, physical behavior into the numerical behavior. So that's the reason your numerical model, the deformation of the numerical model could represent the deformation of the physical model. So with all this setup, all this propagation, then we could see our numerical result. So with the India moving to the deforming Tibet, we can see the India moving about the 20 millimeter per year. After 18 million years later, then the Tibet, the Himalaya is deformed like this shape. Is definitely is fixed to the ellipse, and the major to the minor axis aspect ratio is close to 3. And just north of this Africa and Myanmar, we could see that this kind of thrustings, and also it represents the backhand thrust and the lateral thrust. And from the cross section, then we could see that this part is more higher than the area surrounding. So it's the mountain range is close to here actually. So we can see it's here. So in this model, it shows this ellipse. The length to the width of the ratio is about 3, and also show this two south concave mountain ranges, and also show this in this area also show this extension deformation, and also we could see this divergent deformation. This here divergent thrusting along here. And we could see more details. Then we calculate the shortening rate, the moving rate along this part is about 3 millimeter per year, and this part is about 8 millimeter per year. Is this part, the rate of this part is almost 3 times of this part. It's 2 corners, actually. So then after these things, then we could summarize our talk. So we analyze the subduction shortening rate, and also the major earthquake cycling along the Himalaya range from the west to east, from the place close to the Langan Pebble and to the central Nepal and to the east Nanchang Pava. We can see the shortening rate in the central Nepal actually is 3 times of the 2 syntaxes, but the earthquake cycling is the 1/3. Earthquake return time is the 1/3 of the 2 syntaxes. And the mathematical model, this is theoretical model, simulates the mechanism of the Himalayan arc mountain range formation due to the India-Asia collision, and it fixed almost a kind of a perfect ellipse shape. And the numerical model, the discrete element models, and also reproduce this deformation, and also show the shortening rate along the Himalaya range consistent with the observations. And the simulation indicates also the east-west extension deformation in the southern Tibetan region within the Himalaya arc. And actually, we celebrated lots of Christmas time together with Paul in the past 14 years. Sometimes we celebrate the Christmas time in Singapore. Some we celebrate the Christmas time in China. But he left us in the Christmas time last year. Thank you.